Ah, the mighty stick. Truly the greatest weapon ever invented. Don't believe me? Think about it. The sharpest sword is in reality just a metal stick. Even the most powerful gun, when you break it down, is simply a stick that shoots smaller sticks. You see, all are sticks, and sticks are all. And the granddaddy of all war sticks is the club. So naturally, I set out to see if I could beat Fallout New Vegas with only the war club. I started as you would with any Fallout run, trying to come up with a creative name. I failed miserably. After creating your basic biker dude, I set my special points with a melee focus because, in case you were dropped as a child, yes, the war club is a melee weapon. I set my strength to 10, perception to 2, and my riz at 1, just to give a little bit of realism to the game. My skills were pretty basic, and I chose Wild Wasteland and Heavy-Handed for my traits. It was here that I vowed not to add a single point to speech. No wimping my way out of this run. I left Doc's stuff alone, sold all my earthly possessions to Chet, and set out for Zion, as that's the only way to obtain the war club. Not letting the signs stop me because I can't read. I found myself in Cazador country. With more than a few stingers up my butt, I managed to use my rock climbing skills to get away from them. But I ended up picking up a deathclaw on my trail. I ran to the safety of some vipers, and they valiantly sacrificed their lives for me. All except one. She apparently didn't like that I used her friends as monster chum, and picked up where the deathclaw left off. Fortunately for me, one of the vipers had shot a nearby bighorner, so they ganked her to death. I helped myself to her armor and made my way to the Happy Trails caravan. Some hooligans at the entrance harassed me a bit as I tried to discuss terms with Jed, but we managed to head out for Zion, mostly unharmed. Upon arriving in Zion, we were greeted by the locals. I left my new friends to their fate and ran for my life. Follow's Chalk saved me and led me to his camp. Since he's officially my follower at this point, I did my best to avoid the wildlife. That required some off-roading, as he was pretty trigger-happy. But we got to camp without him killing a thing. I stole a really beat-up war club and could finally live up to my name. I spoke with Imhotep, and he hooked me up with a trash collecting gig. While I looted the canyon for valuable garbage, I kept my eyes peeled for the best drug in the game, Sacred Datura root. It has no benefits, but it makes you stupid and screws up your vision. The screwy vision is why I love this root. Now, some white legs made the unfortunate mistake of being in my general area, so I gave them a few wumps. The war club is actually a pretty good weapon. The damage isn't anything to write home about, but its DPS is crazy high. I made the wise decision of swapping out my rickety old combat armor for some sturdy white leg armor to better blend in with the locals. As I continued on my garbage route, I abused the stray dogs who were nipping at my heel. A giant rad scorpion came to avenge them in the name of PETA. Because I'm not a pansy, I took him head on, and might I say, I have never felt more powerful in a Fallout game before. No Fat Man, no anti-mat rifle, or any other weapon has given me such a power high. It couldn't land a single hit on me. I pushed it back into a corner, and beat it mercilessly until its carapace burst open. I met Breaking Wind at the Sorrows camp, and she directed me to Daniel. The first thing I noticed about Daniel is that his head seems to be a bit too small for his hat. But the second thing I noticed is that he's a pansy. He wants to jump ship and leave the valley, and wants my help in prepping for that. But I had something far more important on my mind. Remember the Sacred Datura root and how they're my favorite drug? Oh yeah, dude. This shaman guy really knows where to find a good kiss, am I right? I got totally pitted, dude. But he told me I need to go kill this gnarly bear and bring back its paw or something. I wasn't really listening. Well, I'm not one to question my dealer, so I moved on out. I killed some baby bears, but their feet were only like 4 out of 5 stars on WikiFeed, so I had to move on to their mama. And let me just say, she was a bear to handle. I'm sorry. Sorry about that, dudes. I just meant she was a tough one. Anyways, I cut her foot off with my club. I don't really remember how I managed to pull that off. On an unrelated note, I was coughing up furballs for the next few days. I went back to my shaman and tried to get a second dose. But all he did was make a stupid glove for me. And I can't even use it because, it's not a war club. I finally came down from my high and started completing random quests in the valley. One such quest was disarming all the bear traps on this bridge. I was a bit too dumb to do it the normal way, and apparently you can't use a corpse to trigger them. Don't ask where he came from. I made the ultimate sacrifice and gave my tootsies for the cause. After massacring a few camps, drinking toilet water, and suffocating some bears, I was finally ready to be done with Zion. Because I was the outsider with little to no investment in the fate of these people, the big decision of fight or flight was obviously left entirely to me. And I chose fight. Now this turned out to be the biggest mistake of the run. You see, at this point, Joshua becomes your companion. Normally, this is awesome, because he's like one of the coolest dudes in the game. But he uses a gun and not a club, and his kills count as mine. You can't dismiss him or tell him to stay put.
Sorry, that's not going to happen.
I tried killing him, but he just asserted dominance by phasing through the floor. I came to the sorry conclusion that there's just no way to complete Honest Hearts without a companion. Now I was dead wrong about that conclusion, but I didn't know it at the time. So I failed the challenge here and let Joshua have his way with the White Legs. Anyways, we crippled the White Legs, and I snatched a dead horse's outfit to complete my cosplay and left the valley in shambles. My first act upon returning to the Mojave was to murder one of the hooligans from earlier and desecrate her corpse. I ignored Mr. House and made a beeline for the tops with violence on my mind. But the chairmen are actually smarter than they appear. You see, they realize that if they ignored me, I'll get frozen in place as I patiently wait for them to address me. But I reloaded a save, which reset their brains to forget this 200 IQ move, huffed a detour route, and got to Wumpin. Let's just say the place reeks of death now. With the blood still wet on my bare feet, I had a very awkward conversation with Volpes and an NCR soldier. It's been a while since I've done an NCR run, so they're the ones I'm going with. First things first, pull the boomers out of retirement. Instead, I killed Violet and harassed the fiends because, let's be real, the boomers are very boring. All I had to do was steal their missiles, kill their pet ants, and gave their missiles back to them, and boom! They worship the ground I walk on. After killing an unsuspecting NCR guard for a uniform and staging it to look like a drinking accident, I rode the train to see Ambassador Crockpot. I played post-nuclear soccer and met with the king. I did all the usual stuff for him, outed Oris as a fraud, saved Pacer's butt, and killed Arcade. Okay, that last one was just for fun. I removed Cook's head and Driver's too, to collect the bounties on them. The caps from this gave me just enough to purchase some subdermal armor. I murderized the Great Khans of Boulder City and spoke to Colonel Moore about my next assignment. Turns out it's to get rid of the Khans. I managed to convince Melissa that the Legion was bad, with absolutely no evidence to support my claims. Next, I was off to free Anders from crucifixion at Cottonwood Cove. But I got a little sidetracked. You see, I became determined to stealth kill everyone in the cove. Aurelius of Flagstaff went down without too much issue, but the same can't really be said about his underlings. I systematically began to kill them off, but ran into some problems with the last two, the Dog Walker and the Canyon Runner. The dog was always watching, and the slaves would snitch on me if I killed their captor in front of them. Like, what the frick? I solved the dog problem by killing it, and waited for what seemed to be eons for the runner to finally leave his slaves. When he did, he got one-tapped like a pansy. I finally saved Anders, snitched on Carl, and used knowledge to persuade Papa to leave the West forever, which I later learned is probably the best ending for the Khans. Shortly after this, I obtained the most OP perk ever, but I'll get to why that is later. I returned to finish off Lucullus, took all of Mr. House's money, and wumped him to death while high en route. After blowing up the Brotherhood, I joined the Secret Service. Using the knowledge of past lives, I expertly predicted where the assassins were and deftly took them out before they could do any harm. I definitely didn't murder an innocent engineer in order to access the landing pad to disarm a bomb on the vertibird that hadn't even landed yet. I'm much too smart to try something like that. I'd forgotten to upgrade my club while in Zion, and discovered that the gunrunners sell their upgrades. The upgraded war club does a little more damage, but it's the DPS that gets a huge buff. I believe that when fully upgraded, the war club actually has the highest DPS of any melee weapon in the game. And remember that Super Slam perk I mentioned earlier? Well, this perk gives you a chance of knocking your opponent on his rear with every hit. With the crazy high DPS of the fully upgraded club, it becomes much more of a guarantee than a chance. I mean, just look at how I absolutely dominated these Legion assassins. And Fitz, who just happened to be in my way. The battle started and I came out swinging. I know that I geeked out a little over how awesome the Super Slam is with the War Club, but seriously, you need to try it. It's been a while since I've had this much fun clobbering Legionaries. I found myself scouring the dam in order to look for more dudes to Wumpin. Before storming the Legate's camp, I huffed some root to clear my head and cloud my vision. I cleared out the peons waiting for me and rushed to confront the Legate. Now, it's been a while since I've done an NCR run, so I kinda forgot how all this goes down. But apparently, 2 Rangers come out of nowhere to attack the Legate. He's supposed to kill them to intimidate you. Well, I kind of just assumed that if I attacked as well, that would trigger the big final battle. But something else happened. Yeah, he died in about 15 seconds. I was prepared to take him and all his Praetorians on at once, so this was really disappointing. I was serious about not whistling my way out of this run. I ended the game a little dejected, but after a day of stewing over this, I reloaded the save to take him on proper. This time, I waited for my allies to die, then initiated combat. And oh boy, did he deliver on a fight. My club is pretty good, but the Praetorians kept body blocking me, and the Legate's reach is huge. Not to mention, he also has the Super Slam perk. After getting my booty handed to me, I swapped out my dead horse outfit for some real armor. Despite my insane DPS, the Super Slam, and the copious amounts of drugs coursing through my veins, I was still struggling hard to prevail. On my 5th attempt, however, I got lucky. See, I knocked down the Legate, but his goons didn't rush me. I beat him mercilessly and killed him very quickly, much like the first time I killed him. Part of me felt like I'd wasted the last half hour only to get the exact same result. But I figured that my suffering during my 4 previous attempts made up for my lackluster victory. I spoke to Oliver, hung up my club, and did not beat Fallout New Vegas with only the War Club. Thanks for watching. I'm pretty upset with myself over having failed yet another challenge. I think I'm at like a 50-50 when it comes to win-loss ratio at this point. But I still like making these videos, so I'll keep on going. Hopefully with less failure, but we'll see. If you made it this far, let me know what you think I should try next. New challenges, or maybe other types of videos you might be interested in seeing my take on. Anyways, have a great day and a great life. Captain out.
Whew. That was some kind of lucky. Guess that one was all full of gecko, eh? Don't get used to it, though. Yaoguai are plenty mean as a rule.